Earthquake.
I got something for you, JD, so. Yeah. Oh,
I think I know what you're talking about. Oh, yeah. I think I know what you're talking about too.
Did you get the thing from, you got the thing from Pam?
Yeah,
Okay.
talk to you in a minute. We're about time to start. Well, 2 minutes, I guess.
Nine, come on.
You don't want to hear it.
Yeah. Well, they Valentine's Day, yeah. I might want to get it on your birthday. Terrible. Oh, my.
Yeah, about 9:30, we ready?
Sure.
We all right, everybody good? Okay, it's 9:30, I'd like to call this meeting to order. Need a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
All right.
Aye. Let's stand up and say pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, next up, we have, public comment. Echo. The public comment, do so at this time. Hearing none. JD, do an engineer update. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, JD King, Page County Engineer. Fine morning in Page County. Lovely spring rain. Never mind, it's mid-February. So it's still winter time. You received engineer update via the email yesterday afternoon. And we're certainly doing weather dependent operations. No blades are out, no rock trucks are hauling rock. We cut brush yesterday at various locations in the southern part of Bates County, and today we're burning piles that were cut before. We have several machines in the shop being repaired. Front end work on an older pickup. One of our tandems has problems with strobe lights. We have a belly dump trailer being assessed over at Siouxland Trailers there west of Glenwood. There's a John Deere motor grader sitting in the wash bay that we're gonna demo when the weather's fit. And I'm collecting prices on skid steers, hopefully have them several this week and bring it to the board next Tuesday. Our bridge construction is, yesterday we accomplished what we intended to. For the remainder of the encasements on the bridge at 280th Street. And they placed the concrete on the west pier footing in Essex. working on DOT budget and program and the raise grant. The narrative's out there, the whole thing's put together now. And it's due at the end of the month, so I have some work to do on the narrative for the Page County Park. Another questionnaire came out from the ICEA. It's a rural grant. They're focusing on farm to market extensions through small towns. In Page County, I have submitted, or on Page County's behalf, I've submitted J55 from Braddyville east to the county line. Taylor County's also done their part of it for the rural grant. The notice of funding opportunity has not come out yet, but the ICA is, the grant committee at the ICA is collecting one project from all the counties. It was due yesterday noon. Proposed grant project or proposed project from all the counties, and then they'll winnow those down.
How many dollars?
Oh, I asked, it's a 10-mile. I've got a 10-mile project, J55 plus Teak Avenue from J55 to J53. That's kind of a add-on piece there if farm to market. Our piece is $500. Am I optimistic about receiving it? No, but it's an opportunity.
What about like going into College Springs and that, like from the south, that stretch and things that are,
That'd
that'd be another kind of a, going into a town?
Right.
Would that fit?
It would fit also.
Can we do multiples, or we best just doing one, or?
Well, right now we just did one, which is already on the plan.
Yeah,
That was my rationale.
Yeah.
I didn't.
I didn't know if it mattered for the, to fit the grant better or something, I didn't know. But, well, that'd be great, so they might be millions of dollars or possible, or? is it-
Right, I mean, that's what the overall grant would be,
Wow,
but I don't.
Be optimistic.
Yeah,
that'd be great, wouldn't it?
and the J Road plan set for check plan returning last week. Questions from me?
Go ahead, we got an email, yeah.
Okay, you want, I'll give you a copy of this, JD. Jacob got it, and then I guess I got it last night too. Maybe you didn't talk to Pam Hersberg, talking about how bad her road is, how muddy it is, about rock that was supposed to be put on, and then it was put on just before they were farming, and it was dangerous, and now, she has to get out to go to Omaha because John's back in the hospital again, and has to have somebody come let her dog out, and it's so muddy that the person won't even come. She's afraid she's gonna get stuck. So
Okay.
it's really, really bad. She said she's called numerous times and would you look into that, please?
Yes, do that, Jeff, and I'll take care of that.
Look into that, yeah. Okay,
See, next item I have
Yeah.
on the agenda is the utility permit
Windstream,
from Windstream. Juniper or M56 is the first place north of Iowa 2 on the east side. They're hooking on the lines on the west side and boring underneath to the residents.
they won't disturb the road anywhere,
No,
okay,
so,
I think that'd be fine as long as it's not disturbing anything.
okay,
Need a motion on that or?
just, I don't know, sense of the board, just informing the board about this.
Okay.
Do we ever get wording on that, that if somebody is gonna go on the road, some kind of a thing they sign before they get a permit, that if they tear anything up, they gotta fix it? We have wording, and then
We have wording, but not exactly.
maybe need to,
I need to. put
Send it to Carl or
my
something.
form. Yeah.
to some kind of like a return to the same that it was, like they're liable, some kind of wording, on the permit. Okay,
Okay, anything else? I'm gonna return to the office and be on Zoom for some of the later items.
okay,
Thank you.
okay. Next up, we've got to talk about the boiler situation this morning, that's on there. And, on that, I have both proposals, the first one, and the second one here. My, thoughts on that is still, we've got the same exact thing with a better price now through Siemens. And they also offered to work on checking some other stuff out, and there's, like I said, a local guy here that had a bunch of information he wanted me to get through on boilers, and I haven't got that done yet. So I'd like to, we're coming into spring, I don't think it's a crisis, we have 30 days or 60 days more to be fine, I think. I don't wait in the last 30 days, say 30,000 on the same equipment, so I just don't know. Might do a little more research if it's gonna last the next 30 years or.
I think I would like to move that we accept Siemens bid and move on with the boiler.
I guess I'd like to wait another few weeks, so. I don't know what you think, Tom?
You have some other bids? Are we waiting on other bids?
No, I'm not waiting on bids, but I had a guy who worked for the school system on all their boilers, and he's contacted an email a few weeks ago that laid out a lot of things to think about, and he'd worked with a lot of boilers, and wanted to check some things and brand the boilers, even talking about certain brands, and even the Siemens guy said this brand they picked, he said, we're willing to look at things and that, so maybe one's better price. I just don't feel like I have all the information yet, so.
I can tell you from past experience that nobody local can really work on these.
Yeah, well, it'd be even, they would still be taking care of it, it would not, and even they said, this guy from Siemens, I've talked to several times now, but that'd be fine to look into. And kind of pressing him on this situation, saved quite a bit of money already, so. I just like to look, I don't know what the hurry is, what's another couple of weeks gonna change, I don't know. If it was quick, or we had it was sputtering, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, yeah,
I would say we put it on the agenda for next week and we try to find out whatever information there
That's
is,
fine.
so we can move
We
forward
try to
with
do
it.
that. These big giant purchases, kind of like the windows and everything, it just take some time here. Make
Yeah,
sure we
we've got-
checked every option. He was very in-depth email with a lot of
Can
information.
you tell us who it is?
Morris, last, I think it was first.
Tucker?
Tucker. So he's had a lot of information about, boilers. So anyway. Of what?
The new one.
Yeah, I think it's this one. Yeah, I think that.
I don't-
I guess Judy's got one.
I've got one, I printed mine off from what Jacob sent me, I can send it. Yeah, maybe I can.
Yeah, and this is the old one I found, that looks just like it, but different back page. Or back where I did that. Okay, that's fine. I'll try to put that on next week. I'll write that on.
Yeah,
Put that
try to
on
get-
next week. Okay, next up, we have, Greg Wild. Same Street.
Good morning.
Morning.
It's nice to see everyone in Page County again. Thank you for inviting me to take a few minutes. I wanted to just bring you up to speed. I had visited with Jacob last week and offered to come down and just kind of review where we have been and kind of where we're at to date. The Siemens Group has been involved with Page County for about 3 years. And in early 2020, we were asked to kind of come in, help look at conditions of the jail. And we did that in the summer of 2020. By the fall of 2020, we provided a study and report that looked at the conditions of the current jail. We were then asked to take that a step further and look at what things are needed in terms of space program planning. And so in the summer of 2022, we basically provided that report and did a great deal of analysis of what the current needs are, what the challenges are with the current building, and how to address the basics of the current jail situation. To give you a little background, Siemens Group has been building and addressing jail needs for at least the last 20 years across the region. So we've seen lots of situations, lots of issues, lots of challenges. As you probably well know, the current Page County Jail was built in 1936. So it's approaching 90 years old. And at at the time it was built, it utilized some secondhand jail cells brought up from Missouri. So those cells are over 100 years. The staff of the jail and the sheriff's department have done a remarkable job with what they have. But I think if you've been in the jail or had a chance to review the reports, you'll admit that there are some serious challenges, both in the condition of the facility as well as the environment that the staff work in and inmates are exposed to. So we suggested and proposed new facilities. We were asked to also look at including things like dispatch 911 as an option. We also were asked to look at including the Clarinda Police Department as an option that might be separate, but yet incorporated within that building itself. And we also looked for a small emergency management office location as well. So we did all that, made a proposal, came back to the board and offered what we thought was necessary, not extravagant, but necessary to accomplish the goals of those departments. We then were asked in a separate, that completed our phase 1 efforts. And the great thing is that Jacob has been involved in this really since day one. Jacob's been a representative from the supervisors to participate in these discussions and help provide some guidance. So I appreciate and applaud Jacob's efforts to be involved in that. We were then asked to provide services to phase 2 to say, okay, if we decide to move forward with a replacement jail, a new facility, where might we consider locating that? So we did a site study and looked at multiple sites, especially around Clarinda, the city of Clarinda, and the eastern portion of the state. Came back with a report late last year that made suggestions and considerations for a 6 to 8 acre facility. At that point, we also were asked at the next step to reach out to Shenandoah and at least consider some options in the western portion of the county. We have not done that. We were at that point asked to just pause things and not incur any additional expense or time or effort. And so that's kind of where we've been for the last several months. It is on hold. And in the meantime, we, as you all know, the state jail inspector does his annual inspection report and provides you insight from his perspective of the conditions of what's going on in that facility. And I believe that those conditions, that report has been completed and or some of the initial findings have been shared. So I'm open, and by the way, I did provide each of you kind of a background on some of the reports that were provided. If you have questions on any of that information, or I can provide anything further, I'm happy to do that. Also, if you have questions or concerns or things that you might ask of me, I'm open to that.
And you guys, so you all asked him anything or have any ideas?
Well, I met with the jail inspector the other day. Lyle had told me that he would be here and he got here early and got done early because he was at Taylor County and it didn't take long to do that since they got a new jail. So anyway, I think we're teetering on the edge of I won't say closure, but it's pretty bad. I don't know. I was a county auditor before I became supervisor, and so I'm pretty familiar with the jail and its problems. And I was here for like 30 years, and so it hasn't gotten any better, that's for sure.
It is not.
But meeting with the jail inspector the other day, one of the things that he brought up is that the rust, the plumbing, major plumbing issues, and they've been able to put a Band-Aid on things. But how much longer is that going to last? And one of the things that we need to look at is whenever they do anything to upgrade, they have to be very careful, because if they do that, then it has to meet the federal guidelines.
Yeah.
And so that's really a scary part of it. And I think we're looking at maybe 5 years before we get this completed, if we would go for a new jail. And so, you know, he said the staff is doing a great job, but they just don't have a lot to work with. And I know he'll be back by April 8th, I believe he said. to see what repairs have been made, but, I think we really need to get moving on this. And we've needed to for a long time.
Yeah,
That was one of my big things is that, we really need to move forward with this jail project. Sooner rather than later. I guess I'm concerned about the locations. I'm wondering about the locations. When I talked to Lyle at one point, you said that out of, west on Highway 2 by the county home is totally out because they won't sell to us. Is that correct? Okay,
Yeah, the location thing we talked about even in the last year, wherever that was, or coming into this. We're brainstorming all we can. This is about we brainstorm, trying to find more locations to look at, see if they'd be better or worse. We went out to the MHI grounds and looked at that building, trying to see if it would work somehow, and it didn't fit very well. So we're trying, that's the public's giving us ideas, we're trying to think about location on it.
so how about the county farm where we own the land?
Well, that's the, basically.
That's
in
basically
your
where
packet, we draw two
gonna be.
there, what we're drawing out.
Yeah.
That site option kind of rose to the top through process of elimination. There are an east location and a west location on that property that
Yeah.
at least have some consideration. Part of the question is, do you do this in conjunction with the city of Orinda to locate their police department within city limits? So that again is a consideration.
I see the issue, I've said this over and over last year too, I see the issues with the jail and I see the problems and not working very well and it's old, rusted and plumbing problems. So I get that, but I like what the supervisors did in the thirties, they were extremely practical. And they hauled used jail bars up during the built ground. I'm not saying they used bars, I'm just saying they were very practical. So I want the most practical, bare bones.
the only bad thing about that is nowadays there's regulations.
I know.
There probably wasn't all the regulations.
But what I'm
hoops that
saying
you have to jump through.
Practical is, I'm just saying it's the idea, they're similar,
Right.
practical. And the dollar per square foot, the build inside of the jail is crazy. Now, the jail part is inspected. The part we house prisoners, unload them, make sure that's safe, all that stuff. All the extra office space and all the extra rooms and break rooms and you name it, that's not inspected if it isn't where you house or unload or whatever book. So that's where I get to getting practical. That stuff is extra and it's built inside of the jail plan and it has a fees for consultants and everything else tied to the price, so it goes from a few million to mega millions to attach everything to one, so one thing, so that's been my concerns in the last couple of years looking at this, is that it gets, yeah, we need to look at where you house and unload and all that, the prisoners, but
So,
I don't-
well, what I've seen, like, I toured it yesterday, went through the jail, Lyle was gracious enough to stay and help, take me through there and stuff, but the plans and things that I've seen have not looked extravagant by any means as far as what they're asking.
well, for the office alone,
I mean-
$100,000 for Lyle's office and
Of what?
whoever's office, the sheriff's office, I don't have the figures in front of me, but it's unbelievable. The square foot of a 12 by 18 room being $60,000, and that's not inspected. So we could buy, and this is where we get to the brass tacks of it, but I've sat through these things, and the square foot price is unbelievable. So the sheriff's department and their offices is separate from the people, the jailer situation, they're different things. So the jailers have to be there, they have to have offices, they have to have the way to run their thing. They're just things like that we can look at. Cause it becomes, it goes 5 million, 10 million over hallways and offices of things we already have offices for. But going forward, we have to have something that incarcerates safely and to unload. safely.
What is our next step for, I mean, because obviously we cannot drag this out forever.
No,
And at some point, I get the price tag is huge. It's not gonna get cheaper. But at some point, we have to get the ball rolling on, we can't just kick it down.
Well, right now, we're trying to find a location, because we can't even put something, if we know we have a location, we can't make a plan.
Okay.
So we've been working
So-
really hard to find a location.
How long of time frame are we gonna have for location?
Guess until we feel good about it. I mean, until you won't build a house if you buy a piece of land to build it on, so.
well, we own the land.
We do, so if that is the wisest place to do it, and everybody thinks that's the wisest place to do it, then we can go.
To me, that's
That's
a
the,
no brainer that
Right.
you already own the land, you don't have to buy it.
Right,
And cost of land is pretty expensive now unless somebody in town's gonna donate.
Well, yeah, but
8
in all of our
acres to
talks,
us,
we talked about this, the land purchase price on a $10 million is $100,000, it's not if it cheapened things by infrastructure, which we do
Yeah.
have we're pretty fortunate there's infrastructure everywhere on the land we own, which does help, that's why it's on there. That's why it's on the top.
Yeah, if you got sewer and everything running,
Very near that.
yeah.
We did look at trying to consider a location somewhere in county that would be easily accessible by both larger communities. There just isn't infrastructure to support this facility. That's the reality.
And this plan is, this jail, the proposal is all one floor.
It would be all one floor. That is correct. Yes, and it's sized appropriately. Right now, I think your capacity is 32, help me, tell me, is it 32 or 35?
35 for average inspection, I'm down to 33 and possibly down to 18 depending on repairs.
And the proposed jail would be single bunk at 20, but double bunked to be able to get you to 38. So it's not like we're massively overbuilding this facility. And really what it provides is the classification to appropriately get inmates in the right populations.
But what we're talking about here, because this is getting confusing, the jail and the jail staff is separate from the sheriff's office, from the EMA, and the dispatch. Every one of those has a bunch of square feet. They're all separate things.
but I think it's wise to put them all in one spot, so they're working together.
Well, the trouble with, I'm sitting through all this is, if you do it through a jail bond issue, it costs, I don't know, if it's 5 times more, you could build it, lay your side out, build your jail and all your facility with the plans, if when our sheriff's office goes bad someday, add it on. You don't have to pay all these fees, you don't have to have all the expensive architect stuff, you can build an office, it doesn't have to be expensive.
The only thing bad about that is I think you run the risk of not doing it because then they basically say, well, they've lived with it, so it's not bad to change, you know what I'm saying?
Well, if it's
Like,
1
that
million
should-
to 10 million,
like-
I mean, if it's.
Well, I know, but it's not gonna get any cheaper either.
And you're gonna have staff running between one place and
And I would-
another, and that's not a good thing
What
either.
I'm saying is your fees, to build anything through the jail is way more expensive per square foot.
But that's
Even
what,
if you did it the next year and you
Right.
tied it all together, it'd be way cheaper.
that's what you're looking at right now. I mean, it's not gonna get any cheaper, and you might as well do it now and get it all together and have it a workable situation rather than
I
them
would
running
like to
back
do it
and
right
forth.
the first time.
I
and
would
have
too.
it.
So I don't
Yes.
think it's wrong to build the same thing outside of crazy fees, just like when you build anything. Well, I built all kinds of buildings. I'm not going to go, if this builder is 10 times the price doing it this way, and I can hire this builder, the same building for 1 time the price, I'm not gonna do that. It is, I've sat through all these things by square foot. I'd like you to look at the
I know.
square foot cost.
I know, but you've gotta look at the fact that Samuels has built jails all over.
Oh, I
And
understand.
you
that.
have to realize that they have the experience that we as individuals don't have. And I think, you've got to look at what we need right now, and
Well,
what
I'm
we
not-
need is a jail, and we need to move forward. And we need to have everything in one place.
You got jail.
And
you
as
got
Todd
office space.
says, we need to have it, we need to do it right the first time.
Well,
rather
I
than
would
putting
never
up-
act, say we should do something wrong. It's not saying
Well,
it's
no,
wrong.
yeah, I'm not suggesting that either.
No.
Sorry, for a couple of years.
I would just like to not have to go and say, okay, well, we're gonna do a jail, and we have a bond issue, and we do this. And then 2 years later, well, we gotta have another bond issue for sheriff's office.
Well, the sheriff's office has
We gotta
no,
add more to it, more costs, keep building, and then,
the sheriff's offices are pickup. And the office space they can use for the house out there will have more room in it when the jailers are gone. And it'll have a gigantic vault storage to store all kinds of evidence in after the jail's empty. So I'm looking at this really, really practical.
Right.
And maybe you guys.
the only thing would be safety of the jailers.
No,
you know-
that's separate. The
Well, I
jailers
know,
out
but if
there-
they don't have the sheriff's department there, if there's a fight or something, and the jailers need to call for, then they're not
They're
there.
not there, right?
So where are they at? If they're in their pickup or?
Well, they're the office, yeah. I think we have to look at it.
I mean, it's just something to think about. If, the sheriff's office being there is kind of nice, yeah, I get what you're saying, because I question that too. I was like, why don't we phase it? You know, maybe you do the jail, you know, what would that cost? But
If you're gonna do that, then I would
It's-
have I would have a bid on building all that totally separate, because you're not gonna have to pay them. What's your percentage? 7%,
No,
6, whatever?
for construction management,
For the whole, on the whole the whole thing, what's your
Typically-
price times total project?
typically, the architect engineering fees are in that 6 to 8% range, and the construction management fees are in the 3 to 5% range. So you're somewhere in the 11 to 14% range.
Now, you start talking $1 million, 100,000 per million. I mean, I'm telling you, you could even do the same thing you're talking about and save a ton of money. I'm running this like a business, so whatever, government people think about things different, and it's just kind of entertaining.
Jacob, you are correct that the cost for jail housing itself is high. It
It's
is,
super high.
it is high. There are elements that go into that, both the design and construction of, and security of that area. And we've reflected that in the proposal. You also notice that the sheriff office, the dispatch, the other areas are at a considerably less cost per square foot than the jail housing. We didn't just across the board say everything's gonna be, you know, X dollars per square foot. So those are reflected. The other thing that I will tell you, and that is the reality of Page County and building in Page County. And please don't take this as an aspersion because it is not meant that way. Okay, but we, for the last 2 years, been trying to get a kitchen built at the state facility just north of town. It started as a $9 million project. It's been delayed for some funding and some other appropriations issues. It currently came in at bid just in the last month or two at almost $17 million. Okay, so the delay of waiting 2 years has cost the state a substantial amount of money. Nothing changed on the design or the size or any of that. The need is what the need is, but the rising costs have absolutely skyrocketed. And unfortunately, that facility is located here in Clarinda, and trying to get the subcontractors and materials here and the trades is costly. It's not like you're building in Omaha or Council Bluffs or Des Moines or Kansas City. And we actually reached into Missouri and Kansas and Nebraska to encourage people to bid on this project in Clarinda. So the rising costs have substantially impacted a project of that. So just, I'm trying to share reality.
I would really like to see us move forward as quickly as possible and get this started and get a vote. When can we have elections anymore? I know they're specific.
Yeah, I have to look at the schedule to. there's
Okay.
different-
do you guys have, so you have cost calculators figured, so for tax dollars and things like that?
Absolutely, we did.
It's
People
tied
can
to
look at
that
that.
email.
Okay.
It's in that email. They have an estimation on there.
And there are 2 dates usually. One is in the spring in March and one is in the fall, either September or November. And it alternates odd and even years. So
I know March, they're doing the school one, so.
And the other thing is, you know, that I've talked to some counties that are building, you know, finally building their jails, and it took them, you know, 4 or 5 times to get it passed for a bond issue. So it's not even a given if you put it up for a
Right,
vote that it's going
right.
to pass. I mean, it's up to the citizens of the county, you know,
Whether they pass it or
how
not.
they feel about it.
And a lot of that,
Taxpayers, if they think we're blowing money on stuff, we should.
And a lot-
Yeah.
and a lot of that is education in
And
letting them know how bad it is and how it
And-
needs to be done. And it was interesting. I went to a Farm Bureau meeting last Thursday night. And the jail was the big subject because they all feel like we need it. And so I'm thinking, here are farmers who think that we need a new jail and, you know, these people understand
yeah,
how
and
bad
I
it is.
haven't been anywhere where somebody doesn't agree that we need
Right.
it.
Right,
I mean, I think everybody in the county understands
understand
the
how,
need.
yes,
And I agree with Jacob about, yes, we have to be,
yes,
you know, obviously, you know, we can't be blowing money on some extravagant Taj Mahal. and I don't think we are, but.
I don't think so either.
How you do it will affect how much you spend, big time.
Right,
How you.
But I don't think, I don't
But I
think
don't know
this
if
one
you
is
want it.
all.
I don't know that shortchanging a jail, and not shortchanging it, but you know what I'm saying, cutting corners on it
I'd say
is the
good
best
point.
place to be cutting corners on safety.
How
I
you
don't
do-
think so either.
So,
How you do the same thing will save you a ton of money. This boiler thing, we could vote on that a month ago, $30,000, gone.
right,
Pressing it, ironing it out, just like you do at home.
But that's one piece of equipment, and we're talking
Yeah.
a huge thing with a lot of.
2%
A
on
lot of
millions of dollars
supplies.
saves a fortune. So I'm telling you, that's why, if this was something that's $100, 2%, $2 doesn't matter. Buy a new table or something, but we're talking about percentages matter, and you start talking $5, $10 million, and I don't know, we all do business different. I try to build the best thing I possibly can, and I want to get it done as reasonably as I can.
but yeah, and I agree with that,
I do too.
mean, but I just feel like,
And it's our job to iron out iron it out.
if we wait forever,
I don't think we should wait forever.
I think we
It takes
need to
time.
move forward.
but I don't know what the next step is.
Well, I think our job is to put something on ballot, and so all we and the people decide, but my one opinion is I want to put something on the ballot that's very practical. That reflects a very conservative, practical approach to doing this as good as we can, to last forever. That's
Does
what I
the,
want.
I guess,
Then the people decide.
does the jail committee then come back to the board with recommendation? Is that what we have to wait on to move forward? Or how do you?
We have a committee, the committee can be right here, we talk right here, I don't have to be anywhere else.
Part of the
know
questions become, do we reach out to Shenandoah and consider a site on the western part of the state as they had requested? I'm sorry, the western part of the county, excuse me. That's a decision that we need your guidance on. The other question then becomes, should we consider any other sites as an opportunity? And do you want to consider a joint facility with the city of Clarendon and their police department?
Nothing against Shenandoah, but the jails are normally located in the county seat,
Correct.
close to the courthouse. And I think that's what we need to look at. This, the locations you're looking at the county farm are close to the hospital, where a lot of your people lots of times go. So that makes it handy. And so I think we need to consider the ones down here, where we own the land already.
They're at the top.
That would be my thing.
They are,
That would
they rose to the top, because really.
Yeah.
They fit the bill, and there's no other options at the moment.
But I think it's imperative that we move forward
I just want to know
as
how long
quickly
we're
as
gonna look.
possible.
How long are we gonna look for a location?
I don't know, I mean, if you think they're good enough, they're good enough. It's all, it doesn't matter till they pass it, so we have to pick a location. Then we can do some kind of cost estimate of what it's gonna cost to put a jail there. Or we have to have something to vote on, we have to have a bond.
In there too, I mean.
Yeah, we gotta decide how big to build the crazy thing.
Because like, I think Jacob, you mentioned EMA and stuff, and I guess I'm just confused, because right now they're at the annex and we just ran. Like, we just did the EOC center at the annex, so are they moving then?
Well, that's all gotta be decided, what's gonna go in this thing. Cause if you build a jail and jail support and an office for a sheriff's guy to be there, or all the sheriffs to be there. Or add whoever else into this, I mean, you get way bigger, it starts jumping. Every hallway you add to connect something, just the hallway is $100,000. I mean, it's 12 by 18,
Well, the only thing on the one, I think there was one proposal there of like the EMA and
it's got it all broke down.
yeah, so
911 dispatch.
911 dispatch would be the other one.
Which I had lots of calls on that.
Which I think that would be, yeah, I think that's, I mean, that would be good.
But a tornado hits Clarinda and the basement's still there, and you got, I don't know, I've heard all kinds of talk with people don't want to move it, they do want to move it, it's gonna cost. We just put a console in there, which I was against doing right now, because it's gonna cost, I talked to the people at the training there a couple weeks ago, Motorola. Yeah, it's gonna cost 6 figures to move the crazy thing. So if we do this jail thing, we bought this $500,000 console the other day, and I said, why are we putting this in right now when we might be moving it in 1 or 2 years, and ours wasn't broke? So we're gonna have I think it was 160,000 the last time I heard, I don't remember if I'm getting those numbers right. To move the thing, which if we have to, we have to, but it just seems silly. See, you gotta have plans, you gotta carry this out in a methodical, conservative way, or you're gonna blow 100,000 here and 200,000 there, and it's gonna get just out of hand. So we gotta decide, is it better to leave there, as it has to be made, are we gonna move it to, for the vote, for people to vote? We have to decide what they're voting on.
Right,
So it's a lot of decisions, we should just do it in the boardroom where everybody can hear.
Yeah.
No,
I don't
I
like
mean, my
having it,
decision
yeah.
would be to keep, not have Clarendon View in it. I think that would keep everybody, I don't think they need to be in there. And I would like to see the dispatch and EMA and the sheriff's office all be part of that jail.
I would agree.
I mean, I think that's important for all of them to work together and they're all there. But like I said, I'm just one opinion and
There should be pause, because right now we're working on it, like we have
no, we're,
upstairs done and stuff, so should we pause on finalizing some of that?
oh, in the annex,
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, we.
yeah, I don't.
Wired,
sits,
I mean, it's not, I mean,
It's only the one person there, right?
well,
Well,
she.
EMA.
But then we.
EMA, and then we have public health and stuff, right? But we
Well,
were,
then us.
what was gonna end up being upstairs? Was that where we were gonna put the dispatch?
No, that
No.
was the EMA,
what does it cost for the EMA on that piece? I didn't print those papers, I have them, what is just the EMA portion?
We're not, we're still, we're finalizing.
I'd say it's gonna be, is it $1 million, how much is it to have her
I
all?
just need to know if we should. pause
And we're
it.
talking about, you could buy
In the,
every building in
in
Clarendon.
the jail?
What's Melissa,
Or down the desk over there, it's gonna cost.
can we let Melissa tell us what's supposed to be going in the annex for the E EMA?
So upstairs, they designed like an EOC center, so in an emergency situation, it's that larger conference room. So they wired, Lori ran extra cable in and stuff, so there was more, basically plug-ins and more, network connections. So if there was an emergency, then she could run out of that basically room. That center.
Okay.
But I just wanted, we have one last room upstairs, they were actually working on finishing this week. So I just didn't know if you're not gonna move forward with that, I didn't worry to spend more time and money. And his time, finalizing all those.
Nothing has to go to vote, to the ballot, and it might not pass. So it could be a long, long time.
Right.
I don't know what to do. I understand, don't invest money in something we're just gonna pull the plug on.
Right.
And so I don't know, but I don't,
I suppose that it's gonna take a while to do the bond issue and then to build it. So I suppose we should have something in place for her now,
Okay.
and then we'll just have to move it when the time comes.
Okay.
But I guess I have a question about Clarinda. If Clarinda has, if the PD, and I've heard that they have money to put into this, if they pay for their own space, would that change anything? In including them in this building?
No, I think it opens up too many can of worms.
Okay,
I mean, just,
But
and
between
I've talked
and go up.
to, I know people that are with the city that have said, yeah, if we do this, then otherwise if it's, even if it's out of city limits, where I think the county farm, part of it is out of the city limits, right? Part of it
part
is.
of it is, yeah,
Yep, so that would take them out anyway.
right.
But I just think you run the risk of having two different entities in
Okay.
one building
Okay,
where you could cross issue things that might happen, but, and I just don't, I feel like there's enough animosity in our county between two
between the
towns.
two,
And I
gotcha.
don't think we need to add to that,
Okay,
so.
okay, that's what I wanted to know. Okay.
we basically got over the next, when's the deadline if you want to put it on the ballot? When is that? Is it already passed? March is pretty close, so we can't.
March is too fast.
So it'd be fall.
Yeah.
So we know the deadline for the ballot and decide what we would,
But you gotta have,
You gotta have-
I would just
You gotta
like to
have a
know
plan in place.
that we're moving forward. I'm not trying to push, we gotta have a vote next week. I'm just saying,
well, we've been moving, it's a long, slow,
Right.
I mean,
and
your best bet is to educate your voters. about
Right.
the abilities.
and you gotta get,
And maybe you piecemeal and you break it up and say, okay, next Tuesday, we're gonna talk about the jail piece of it. And we'll all agree, or we'll talk about what we wanna see in the jail part. or what we think is important, and then, you know, we can talk about the other pieces as we go along, but I don't know how you, it just feels like.
I think sometime, good thing doing, that's what I told Gregory, you guys are just getting into this,
Right.
actually all the way into it, so. All that stuff is what they've given us and studied and spent money to get those numbers and all the figures for each piece that goes into the jail. Figure what it costs to add EMA in there, figure what it costs to add all this in the building. And think about it, and we'll come back, I would say we study this for a week or two, then come back and talk a little
Yeah, because I
more.
just got all this information,
Right.
so.
You're brand new here, so.
And I'm happy to come back in a work session or another public session, whatever
Yeah.
you folks need.
We
To
just-
add some insight, ask questions, clarify.
I guess what we need the timeline though, we just need to know what we're up against over the next year. When do we have, we want to put on the ballot, what do we have to accomplish by when, so that we catch us off guard?
Can I add a little insight as to experience of what that looks like?
Yeah.
Typically, it takes in the neighborhood of 14 to 16 months to build a jail facility.
Mhm.
It takes somewhere in the neighborhood of 9 to 12 months to design that jail facility. And I would strongly encourage you to allow a 6-month time period from the time you said, we are going to look at something and begin to move forward before the actual vote, so that you have enough time to clearly define what this project is, what's in, what's out, what the cost is, what the cost isn't, and also time to educate and inform your patrons. You want taxpayers to fully understand what this is, and we're here to help you in that regard. It's a big decision, it's a large amount of money, and it needs to be done with great thought and care. So we're here to help that in whatever way we can.
So does that mean fall's out or not? Does that,
I'm sorry,
the fall, I mean,
I would say you could, if you're allowed legally to have that this fall, I would say yes.
so we need 6 months before the election to be decided what we want to do.
And if your election is in September, then I don't
That'd be
recall
March.
whether this year it's November or September. We'll see if we can check that.
We can look at some dates and things, because it is a thing that you have to be thinking a long ways in advance to even have a plan. So I'm fine with making a plan, looking at it, but
And I will also tell you that we don't get final construction documents to the point where you're, voting. We'll give you a schematic design. This is what's included. This is the estimated square footage costs. So that you really have a clear understanding of what's in, what's out. And then, what the taxpayers would think. What the ask is for that.
once we decide what's gonna be built, then we put an ask out there. Here's what we want.
Well, and we need to make sure that we're not just putting out there the cost of just the building, all the things that go into.
Oh, it'll all be there.
Yeah.
It'll all be included in that number.
I'm saying you're gonna decide, you wanna attach all this stuff or not. Think of like pods, you gotta have the jail. The jail is actually where you house the prisoners and unload them. Then you add up sheriff's department offices, totally separate from bank. EMA separate, it's all its own entity, connected like around it. So we have to decide what Legos you put on it, so. Anyway, so we'll have to work through that. And how many dollars it's gonna cost roughly to do that.
So we need to get moving forward.
Yep.
We're here to help you.
So I guess we'll study this, and whenever you guys want to put it back on the agenda, we'll talk about it some more, study the prices, and we'll just talk about it again here in a few weeks or something, I don't know. It's fine with me.
I think we need a definite. I don't think we need to say, okay, in a few weeks.
Well, 2
I
weeks,
think if we're
one
gonna
week, I don't care.
look toward fall, we need to
Yeah,
really
when-
decide
when-
how we're
when
gonna
next
move
week?
forward.
Talk about it more next week.
Yeah,
It's gonna take a little bit of time, because then now, once we start making this, then people start talking to us about, oh, they really love it or don't love it or whatever.
Yeah.
So.
and
that's
I
fine.
think basically we need to be very supportive of it and not.
I'll support
talk against,
conservative.
talk against it,
I will not support paying $100,000 for an office, a desk and a chair. I will not do that. You can buy every house in Clarendon, so, but the needed for safety and all that, that's fine. To unload and what has to be there. But I'm just one voice, so.
If you have an office, you have to be able to operate.
Well, yes, but
I don't think we're looking at the Taj Mahal. I think we're looking at basic services, for our
If you wanna do it next
sheriff,
week-
our deputies, our jailers, our dispatch.
Yeah.
I think we're looking at basic things that are necessary to operate a county jail. And I think that's what we need to move forward.
Right, and how you build those basic things can change greatly the cost of it. So we'll do it next week. We'll put it on there. You can study those square foot prices. We talk about it again if you want. Next week, I'll do that. Keep it quick.
Sure.
Yeah,
That's fine.
that'd be fun.
Yeah.
So I'll put that on next week's agenda. Okay. Let's see here. Jail, I think, so we have a question for Greg, and he can be emailed anytime
Yes.
and ask questions too, or whatever. Did you guys all have an email?
Yeah.
Or by phone, if you have a question, and you have a patron that asks you a question and you're stunned, you don't know the answer, feel free to reach out to
Yes,
me.
reach out to him and, talk to him and
If I don't have the answer, we'll get the
Okay.
answers.
yeah, so, talk to him and we'll go ahead and do some more look at this next week.
If you would like me back next week, just let me know. If you want me to join you by Zoom, let me know that too. If you want a work session,
You
again,
got just right now, do you want him on Zoom or do you just answer? While we're
Yeah,
together?
once you, if you want to call in on Zoom next week, in case we have any questions,
absolutely.
that way you don't have to, I don't worry out of
West Des Moines.
West Des Moines, not far away, yeah.
So that'd
Maybe
be
a
good.
trip, but we could, that way we have, if we have questions and stuff, we can,
Very good.
we'll definitely discuss this next week.
Excellent. Thank you very much for your
Yes,
time.
Thank you.
You bet.
Okay, let's see here. Now we have the jail inspection. Here we go. Let's hear how good it is, Miles. Or Tony, is anybody talk to us
I
about the jail?
think I already talked about it,
inspection?
kinda,
Is
didn't I?
that good enough? Judy already talked about it, I guess.
You guys have a report, I guess, if you answer any questions that you have.
Yeah, I've walked through it several times. It kind of says the same things we've seen every time we walk through, the plumbing and the rust and the ventilation and.
Little more, so the issue with the showers, you can't
Say, go up to the microphone, yes, Tony. People can hear.
So the one issue, that was probably the most glaring in the report was the shower issue. Years ago, we had a company come in and epoxy coat those. Because it was concrete block and as you know, moisture and paint and concrete block don't go together, so. The epoxy is starting to fail. The inspector gave me 30 days to get a plan of corrective action to him and 60 days to complete that work. I have talked to a local contractor, who came up and looked at the job. I'm awaiting, a bid from him and what his corrective action would be. There's a couple of different options, whether he can just patch what is there or if he would have to grind it down and re-epoxy it. So I'm waiting to hear back from him. And once I get that, I can bring it to the board and I'll get it submitted to the jail inspector for a corrective action plan. There are a few cells that he, shut down due to water pressure issues. So I do have a plumber scheduled to come in and look at that to see, if it's a valving issue or if it's 60-year-old water pipes that have buildup inside of them that are causing a restriction or what that is. So, for now, those cells are not usable. With my current daily population, that's not an issue right now, but I do have a plan to get those looked at. I just don't have estimates on repairs or a timeline on that at this point.
The crack and the one that's leaking down to the next floor.
Yeah, that cell has been shut down. He shut that down. He took those two beds away from me probably 6 or 7 years ago.
Okay.
So those have not been used since then. So actually that 35 number that we're licensed for is actually, or certified for, has actually been 32 or 33 for quite a few years.
Some of the issues I think that Todd saw yesterday, we started going and plumbing in that upstairs. You have to break out the concrete that's 4 to 4 inches on top of steel plating. And then you've got cast, and that's where some of our issues with that are. So where do you start and stop? Because you might get into the integrity of the cells that were put in there into the concrete that are kind of sitting on top of been very shortly recessed into the concrete. So where do you start? Where do you stop?
Plus then you get into the renovation part where you're gonna have to bring it up to code possibly.
Correct. Well, once we would meet what the administrative code says is major renovations, then we have all under the new standards, which would probably take our population, bed population to, I would estimate maybe 15 out of 35 that we have now.
Which will then cost us because we would have to transport and
Correct,
house
that would be.
prisoners in another county.
I mean, my current population today is 16 in-house, and I have one housed out in another county right now, just because we didn't have the facilities to accommodate them, so.
And what does that cost us a day to have a prisoner at another
It's roughly
location?
been $50. I didn't get an estimate from this, I didn't ask this time because I didn't have a choice.
Right,
I hate to say that, but, you know, they were willing to help me out.
and that doesn't matter.
I
like,
don't
you go to
anticipate
county
it to
or
be much.
Fremont County. it's
Yeah, it was in
$50
Davis,
for
Wayne
that.
County, yeah.
There's no question that there's a lot of issues going on with plumbing and the rest and everything, so it served its purpose.
Thank you for continuing to patch it
Yep.
for as long as we can.
One thing that I learned yesterday was, you know, we're putting Band-Aids on stuff and fixing stuff the best that we can. But we still run the risk of that inspector coming back and looking at what we're fixing and saying it's not good enough. Or, you know, they can just come in and say, we're shutting you down. And so that's the kind of the Russian roulette that we're playing. As long, you know, as we're waiting to decide what we're gonna do with the jail, so.
And that's the thing with the 60 days
Right.
that I'm concerned about is, hey, every contractor is busy. This one couldn't give me 100% guarantee that he would even be able to complete the work in 60 days. But he was gonna get some numbers together and get them to me and see what he could do. But if those 2 showers are shut down that are on my 60 days, that's 21 of my beds that I will not be able to use.
And the jail inspector did say as long as you are trying to make forward progress.
Correct. I think I can give an extension on that as long as I'm showing.
Showing the effort.
Good faith effort, but I don't know. If I can, sure. There's no, I know what he told us and I know what the letter was that he said, so.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm at.
Thank
We'll
you
do
for
the best
patching.
we can.
Yeah.
Do the best we can, what we got.
Yep.
Okay, well, yeah, thank you for being willing to work on all that. Okay, so that's got our jail discussion we talked about, inspection. Now, we're to number 9 there, discuss the WIOA resolution. And that's something, I printed that off too, but
I actually talked to the gal yesterday and she was so grateful that somebody called and talked to her. And I think you talked to her too, Todd, right?
Yeah, well, I emailed her,
Yeah.
yeah, so when I told her we're bringing this up,
Yes.
Yeah.
and she was thankful.
And she, yeah, I think we're, maybe the next to the last to sign this. What it is it's the workforce development, where the state has, this started years and years ago when I was here, where the state started closing all the workforce development offices and people had to go online or people had to travel to get some help. And so they did this 18 county thing and now the state is doing so many demands. And nobody wants to handle the finances and, as she said, she's talked to a number of supervisors and they said, well, our auditors don't want to do this and, which is very true, they don't want another job. And, the demands that are placed on it, and if they don't like something, then they make you come back and do it again. And so they're just opting out. And I think, out of the 18 counties, I think we are, the next to the last. I think she said Fremont County maybe is meeting tomorrow to do theirs. So, basically, this is gonna end this whole thing. And, the committee that we have listed will no longer be. And so I guess I would move that we sign this, agreement to opt out of the workforce development.
do we even have that on the agenda to do that?
Yeah.
It is.
Yes.
It is on the agenda.
It just says discuss, because we didn't know what it was. So,
We need to do it.
yeah, I see that, so can we? Oh, could we do a Zoom meeting in the morning or something for a minute and put it on an agenda at 10:30 tomorrow or 11 or something, and do that? We have to have action on there, we have to be able to take an action. That's not what we have to do, or we can do it, is next week too late? Then, too late. We just have to have action on there to do it.
No, and
I
so,
guess I thought it was on here to do the action.
Yeah, no, it doesn't have that written on there. We didn't know what it was. Tom said he wanted to figure out what it was on there. So you could, we're trying to figure out what all this was, work out what it was, so.
I mean, if you wait till next Tuesday, then no, it's coming about that.
It has to be done by the end of the month, and she was hoping it would be done this week. So. I said we've
We
got
can
it,
tell
I
her.
said we have it on the agenda tomorrow, so it should be
Yeah,
done.
Yeah, we can do it, we can let her know that have a consensus, we just have to take formal action to get her her paperwork. I guess. So I'm all right with ending it. You're all right with ending it, Todd?
yeah, I mean, if we can't vote on it now, I mean,
We can talk about it, we just can't actually sign it and
we can't actually do
take
it.
action, but there's a consensus of the board. And we can get the resolution put on there to vote on. And if she needs it sooner, we could do a Zoom meeting or something, we could just all Zoom in real quick.
Just as long as we get back to her and say this is what.
Well, once we Zoom it, I can
We're getting
sign
out,
it.
yeah, I mean, I would agree to get out of it. If we have consensus.
If she needs it sooner, even if we did a Thursday, just set a convenient Zoom time, we all Zoom in and just vote on it, adjourn, and we could, then I could sign it for her quicker. So we can do that, or wait till next week, what do you want to do?
I'd say sooner rather than later.
That's fine with me, so what would be the best time to do like a Zoom, like make a link, we all just Zoom in or something, or call in, and we have to come in and make a good meeting out of it. Wouldn't be convenient for everybody to do that.
Tomorrow probably sometime, I gotta look at my,
I have a 10:30 appointment.
It won't, yeah, we do whenever, and then just be us, get on there and somebody can see what we say. We can have an agenda
tomorrow afternoon.
We'll do like 4 o'clock tomorrow or 3 o'clock. What time is people here till 4:30? We'll do 3.
3 o'clock tomorrow.
Do a
Does that
little
work?
special, little quick agenda. We can talk about it, vote on it, sign it, whatever. Okay. Let's do
But we
that.
have to sign something too. right?
I think I just have to sign it, I think.
Yes, you have to sign
Yeah,
it.
so once we vote, then I can sign it, and we send it off to her email. So let's do.
Melissa will need to redo the resolution, so you can sign it.
Okay, so let's just do a special meeting tomorrow at 3, which gives us time to get an agenda made.
Okay.
So 3. Okay,
Do you have it? I can email it to you,
Okay.
and then you can
I
read
think
it.
I forwarded it to you.
Do you, okay.
Yeah, I think that was part of that email I sent you.
okay, we can do that. So we'll get that taken care of tomorrow. All right, the next thing up here is resolution 17. I have a whole bunch of them here. It's what Carl put together.
I don't have that. You have one?
Carl emailed these
You
out.
have it.
I thought I sent him out an email. He sent it to me.
I
I
don't
just
have
asked him to make us a moratorium on solar, just to get ready to work on all these things. I don't want to get a pickle again like we did with the,
And these are all separate, right?
this is just for more solar, just if we want to make a solar ordinance, which we talked about one last year.
Yeah,
If we want to do that, this just gives us time to get it done while we build it in the next few months. We need to build one, be done with it, if we're gonna do one. So, I just asked him to put, I don't need to put this all together. I said, put it together something to give us time to work on an ordinance so nobody's confused about what we're doing.
Is this something we have to do?
We don't have to, but if you don't, then my understanding is then if they
I would,
they
yeah.
would come forward with a plan while we're working on it, it could cause an issue there. If we haven't done it.
I mean,
We're
I think
letting
it's a
people
good
know.
idea just to have it, just, I mean, to give us time to do our ordinance. 'Cause
And
we
no
do
one
need
can
to get
say-
some ordinances.
No one can say that we're,
Um,
that they have reason to think that the rules aren't changing, 'cause we're working on what there is, we're working on stuff, so.
Right.
We don't currently have a solar energy ordinance.
No, we don't, we're gonna work on it. That's the next on the agenda. We worked on one last year for a while, and then they said, let's just do it next year, there's a new board, so we just left it alone. So if we want one, we're gonna talk about it in a minute. If we want a solar ordinance, then we need this in place. So if you wanna go ahead and talk about that, we can jump ahead and jump back. Do you think we need a solar ordinance? That'd be a good question. If we don't think we need one, then we don't need this.
Yes, I think we do.
I kind of think we do too. So,
So I would make a motion that we sign this moratorium.
okay,
I'll second it.
okay. Discussion on that is if we're gonna work on one, we need a moratorium. Well, the second it's done, we delete this. We don't need it anymore. So it's just to kind of be careful and respectful, letting everybody know what we're doing. We're working on stuff, so. Okay, so we have a discussion on that to go forward with this.
Okay, you have a motion and a second.
Two, yes, on resolution, whatever number it is, 17,
17, yeah, to adopt that.
to adopt that resolution.
Did you vote?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Discussion, any more discussion? Okay, and then all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carried. Okay. So what's next on?
Melissa's gonna have to redo this. Everybody can sign it.
Yeah, he just sent these to me, Carl, did he send it to you or not?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can email that. Okay, email that resolution. All right. The next thing on there is, since we did that, it's a busy time, isn't it? You think February would be that busy? We really need to work on our, talked about this last week. We gotta work on our wind ordinance, repealing, replacing, or whatever. We gotta get that fixed. That's the reason we're in a moratorium for wind right now. It was, you know, it has lots of things that need worked on that are not, safety and concerns are not being addressed, so we need to work on that. So that, all I put this on here for was when and how we want to do that. As we look at this, how we want to set this up.
Yeah.
Wait, are you talking wind now or?
Well, yeah, we skipped to number 11, sorry. Number 11 there, basically, I just put this on here to ask you guys how, if we need to do this, which I think we agree we do, when and how do we want to move forward with it? We want to do it in work sessions and we gotta be working on this too, like the jail,
Right.
work, this is important. We got all these things crunching down on us.
So are you talking wind or solar?
Okay, on that number 11, I'm asking them how we're gonna do wind and solar, and then also people are asking us for a carbon pipeline.
Correct.
I'm just asking when and how we wanna work on these ordinances together. Is my, it's just a question of,
Do we need,
The first one is the moratorium on the
Yeah.
city.
so that's,
that's done. That's
That's
done.
done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Done.
Number 10, we just passed the resolution to a moratorium for solar.
Yeah.
We already are in a moratorium for wind right now currently, to work on the ordinance, is the purpose.
Yes,
Do we need to wait till the lawsuit is done
Which
on
one?
the wind?
What lawsuit? The lawsuit, it's been dismissed, I think.
But they're.
they're
filing
going
an
through the
appeal.
appeal, but
I don't know,
I
about
think
that. We need to do our business, however, we need to.
I
go-
would like, yeah, we should talk through that. Obviously, you want to make sure everything's done, by the book.
Well, yeah,
The only thing I would think on these three is if we're working on them, just to make sure that those are three separate ordinances.
oh, definitely, yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't combine anything.
And it says changes to ordinance or creation of new ordinance, yeah, just to say these are three topics,
Yep,
they're separate, they're not the same by, they can't be the same, they're totally different things. So,
and to be also, I think as we work on them, to be as transparent as possible, when we're doing it, so.
how do we want to do it, that's my question, I want to do that out, do we want to do like work session, how do we want to do this? Want to do this in a meeting, just put. Because we're gonna have to go through, I did some of these, when we did the UTV ordinance, we did all these things. Basically, we have to pick each topic, and we have to decide how we want to structure it by setbacks, all these things have to be gone through line by line.
Do you
And
want,
decide what we want for the safety and the
so
financial.
is a work session different than a meeting?
Well, it's a meeting, it has to be public, but
Right. but
if we're
you-
together,
If we say, yeah, we're gonna have a work session, we could just have, and that's the only topic on the work session is the wind ordinance, and we're dissecting that and going through it.
yeah,
And we can vote and make changes as we
as
go
we kind of
through
go, yeah,
it in the public eye, right?
yeah, and the public can bring in ideas.
Done the work session, but they're not at the end before meeting, so then it goes.
Okay. Oh,
And then just
Yeah.
start talking through it.
okay.
And do it for an hour and then come back and do it the next week for an hour. Just kind of have a limited time. We're gonna work on it for an hour after the meeting. That's fine. And so is that what we want to do? I'm just trying to figure out.
And you're gonna need to have some other examples
Yeah, we've had people bring it to
Yeah.
us, and I have several, I have a whole.
Well, from ordinances from other counties.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
we have other counties that
Yes.
are working on pipelines and stuff as well, so
Mhm.
we wanna look at.
I made a folder for each one, and I have them full of ordinances to look at, and compare, and the wording and all that stuff, so. So, next, we need to start working on this too, so. The most, I mean, they're all pressing, we just need to start working on it, so
Yeah.
next week, what do you wanna do, do you wanna put on one of them, and just start working on that, you wanna start wind next week and talk about wind for a while, and go through
I think wind and carbon are the two
most pressing?
pressing,
And we have a moratorium now to help us on solar, which we do all wind also.
yeah, and we also have one wind. But,
It'd be nice to have, I think, the wind one, our moratorium goes till March something, I
do
think.
we need a moratorium on the pipeline?
I don't know that I don't understand the pipeline situation, and how that works moratorium, we need to ask legally about.
Have you been
Pipelines.
getting, have you been getting all the stuff from Des Moines?
Yeah.
I don't know what all of those are.
Well, it's a lot of,
Different counties, different people,
yeah,
yeah, signing in, and some of
Yeah,
them are not even in the
if
area.
it's going through the utilities board and
Yeah.
they're sending it out,
Yeah.
yeah, so I didn't know either. I've kind of been archiving those in my emails just in
Me
case
too,
I need them, but,
Well, say next week. Maybe we do it, so I thought maybe come in early and work on it, and then start the meeting but I don't care if we do it after either. If the meeting's at 6, then we start at 5 or 4:30, like, we're just gonna talk about it and start the meeting, or we do the meeting 6, whatever.
Next week, we have a 3:30 meeting,
What's next week?
because we have
Oh, yeah,
assessors
whereas-
conference board at.
Oh,
yep, that's right.
yeah, we'll be there at 3:30 doing that, so we could after that go into that won't last 10 minutes, that one was always very, very short.
Well, there's also, I think, there's some other people that are,
Let's put it on the end of next week's now.
because I think there's somebody else that's scheduled like a 5 o'clock.
That's the assessor conference board.
No, but there's, is there an EMA?
Oh, I don't know, do you have any?
I think,
EMA?
yeah, I think.
Oh, I
they-
think you do have an
yeah,
EMA
I think
meeting.
they're
Yeah, I
coming
think they
here,
scheduled that.
and I'm not sure,
Yeah.
I can't remember what time that was scheduled.
Yes, I believe they
So
said they were gonna do it at the
before-
same time
yeah,
for you.
5:30 maybe or something, so.
And we might have to think about with all these ordinances, doing an extra meeting sometime to really think about these things, because it's just gonna be, it's a lot. We did just the UTV when we talked about, I mean, then it ended up the state changing anyway after we were done, but we spent a lot of time working through that, so. So I don't know, we might have to have an
How
extra
about the end of the month or
meeting or something.
the one after next week? We start on this.
Yeah.
Yeah, can you do it on the 28th?
The 28th, we
The
start.
28th agenda, we start working on the ordinance.
I don't care. So what, is there something going on the 28th? I don't have any idea. Schedule
I
for
know.
me.
But we need to start earlier, a 6 o'clock meeting, not.
Well, if we start, I imagine we're gonna have a lot of people bring us ordinances they want us to look at. I bet you, and that'd be a good thing to do, present us or email them to us, whatever, send them to us. Give us the highlight, 2 points they like out of there, or what they think is necessary. So that's why I thought our general meetings don't last super long, there's not big things on there, but we could go before or after.
There's one thing that should have been put on the agenda, and I thought I put it,
What was that?
is this Teresa Hill has applied for a permit. And it wasn't put on the agenda
Yeah.
again.
That's in
So
June or,
it's next December, but she has asked
yeah.
to be put on the agenda.
Yeah, I also had another one, a guy, he told me about this
So-
summer, so
That
we can
needs
put
to
that
be
on
on
there.
next week's agenda, and I,
we should go.
can we finish up all?
Okay,
I'd like to talk about the time again, the meeting times.
okay. Well, we got, let's check off 11 here first. So when and how, we've got a ton of work to do on them. That's,
Well, I would just say, let's start on the 28th. Get that on the agenda for the 28th. To start working on the ordinance for the wind.
That's gonna be a night meeting. Start at 6 then, or?
Can we,
As far as right now, it is 9.
can we discuss that in a minute?
you want us to still believe at 6? We could start at 4:30 or whatever. We could start earlier that day to make it where we could talk for an hour and a half and do a regular meeting.
What time do you get off work?
It depends on what I'm doing, but.
Like if we did a 3:30 meeting instead of a 6
usually
o'clock
I
meeting,
can do that. Yeah,
cause if,
I think we're gonna have to, I mean, maybe we do, you know. And the meeting thing is probably something we'll have to put on the agenda to discuss.
I think so,
But
because we can't,
The public,
they don't know when
they
it
like,
is.
most of them like the night meetings, but what I've been told, because. And which I'm fine, and it's not like I said, it's not something that I'm gonna say. Maybe we do a couple earlier meetings and a couple of evening meetings.
Right.
And split it. It's, the only thing I'm worried about is you get so herky jerky and then. oh,
And that's what we are that's what we are right now. Several people have called me and going,
Well,
when are the meetings? And
We
I'm
should
saying,
have left.
I'm
today
not sure either.
Tonight, but Valentine's Day changed the conservation board meeting tonight. Nobody's freaked out about that, so it's just, you gotta pick something and stay consistent.
I think we need to
I
discuss
know.
that again.
I've been on, well, let's talk about meeting times. I've been on all kinds of boards, and I've went to all kinds of board meetings in my life, and they're all in the evening. I've almost never went to one 8:30 in the morning ever. So, and it's fine, I can do 8:30, and I can do 6, and I can do 3:30, so it doesn't really matter to me. 15,000 people out there that I'm thinking about, not 100 here,
Yeah,
it's
and
fine.
I'm not, yeah, and
So-
I'm always looking at it from, and it's not about me either, so it's. You know, more about, you know, what the citizens can make, you know, what their feedback has been.
Accessible.
And it making it accessible to them.
And it
because this
depends on
meeting-
what's the agenda,
For
what's
them.
on the agenda, whether
True,
we come.
it does, and, you know, like, I think.
Also makes agendas way easier when you have a night meetings. You have all kinds of business time to work on the agenda before it has to be 24 hours from now. So, right now, we flipped it. We did one in the morning or one in the morning, night, and the rest in the morning, and then we flipped it around, or we have one in the morning, so. Whatever we do, we just gotta do it. And I think once you do it, then people will adjust one way or the
Yeah.
other.
And if you wanted to have them at 3:30 in the afternoon,
The only thing with that is, I'm fine with that, is that causes a middle of the day thing, where you have people are,
you're never gonna make everybody
know.
happy. So
what do you wanna do?
I'm going based off what I've heard from people when I campaigned.
Yeah, I know,
That's-
me too.
A lot of people said, man, we need night meetings.
And there was people that begged for a night meeting.
And I even
And they
wanted
would
to-
not give them one,
Yeah,
and that was
and
unbelievable.
so that's why we went with what we went.
Yeah,
because-
begged for night meetings, and I asked for night meetings 3 years ago on some topics I want to talk about, and I was not allowed, no way, not gonna happen. So.
I would
I'm
have-
fine with leaving in the evening, I'm fine with the way it is, I don't have a problem with it, and if we need to make it start earlier for some people, to make some extra workshops or something, that's fine, if we don't wanna go past 7 or 8 o'clock.
I would rather start at 3:30. You know, I think that's time people are still here in the courthouse at
Which is nice.
3:30.
That's nice.
And yeah, if we need anybody here, I think, and then how about having a couple morning meetings and a couple night meetings? Let's set them up so that we know what's what.
We gotta be done. It's got to be done. Just pick it and be done.
Yeah.
So what is the consensus there? That's what we wanna do.
Well, we need to put it on next week's agenda instead of, I mean, it's whatever.
Yeah, it's not an item really, is it?
No,
That
No, so-
we're not, so let's just.
Finalize meeting times.
Jumped off our agenda, but
all right. We need to
Well,
finish up with number 12.
put that, yeah, just put that on next week and we'll,
Finalize meeting times. I got a lot of notes on there. Oh, boy.
each of us can come back with a plan maybe and discuss.
Okay, so on the, so we're gonna start the 28th, working on the wind energy ordinance. Number 12, there's our whole big thing we gotta get done with our boards.
Okay, I kind of went through these yesterday, or over the weekend and whatever, and I called a bunch of the places. And some of them are no longer,
And even doing it.
yeah, and so let me go through this. Let's see, the fourth judicial is still there, that's Jacobs.
Yeah,
Human
Well-
Service, yeah, Human Services Council is one I've got, I guess. Hungry Canyons Alliance,
it's still there.
is still there, but,
It's once, well, one of them is
um,
once a year, one of them is every quarter, I think.
yeah, it's not very often. And Los Hills is once a year.
Yes.
That's a yearly,
The Golden Hills, you mean? Or Lois, oh, Lois Hills, anyway, I see.
yeah, that's annual.
Golden Hills.
Juvenile detention,
Is that
Jacob
not
has
one?
had that. So Golden Hills, we have a representative on there.
That's fine.
Okay, so we didn't.
Juvenile detention Jacobs had, the E911 and EMA, Todd, you've got that one.
Yeah.
The enterprise zone is very rare, and you had Todd on that one. Landfill, Jacob had that one. The loss control, the auditor usually handles that. Alan sent me some stuff and he said that's very rare and the auditor usually handles that one. The MHMR coordinating board, I'm not sure it even exists anymore without the MHI. I didn't know who to call on that one. So I'm not sure. The regional planning is a part of the SWIPCO, and Todd maybe on that one. These are just things that I was going through yesterday. Southwest Iowa Mental Health Regional Planning, I don't know about that one. Do you know anything about that, Melissa?
I do not.
Okay. SWIPCO, I can take that one. It's a 1:30 meeting. They prefer that you're there. You can Zoom, but they prefer that you're there. So if that's okay, I can take that one. Wabansie Mental Health, I do that one. West Central, Todd, that's an evening meeting. Is that okay with you?
Yeah, so that's one of those Tuesday evening meetings that we need to.
Yeah,
Once we
yeah.
made Tuesday nights, then we found out, oh, that
Exactly.
could be a problem, but yeah, so, and that one, yeah, that's. not
Because
a
that's
problem
in,
if our
that's in
meetings-
Harlan. So yeah, you need time to get there. Workforce, that one's gonna be done away with, and Zion Recovery, is that one Todd? Did we say Todd on that?
Yeah,
Was
it
it
says-
Todd
yeah.
on, it says Judy, but Todd,
Yeah,
and I can fill in on that one if we needed to. So does this look right or not?
Did you change your mind on it?
I don't think I changed any of yours.
I added that fourth judicial, just because we might get those the same people. I'm on that juvenile detention, so I'll the same board.
The one that changed is the, and I changed the name, Fremont Page Taylor DCAT Governance Board. They meet 4 to 5 times per year on Zoom, and that kind of falls under the mental health and the human services type thing, so I put me down for that one. So,
My only change is I'm adding fourth judicial.
I thought you had 4th Judicial.
No, I said the other day I would take it. because
Oh, okay, that's right, okay,
I'm on
yeah,
juvenile detention, that's in council,
Yeah.
so we're gonna try to get in the same day, but I don't.
okay, so that, yeah.
So I'll
So
add,
does this work?
well, if that's the one I'm adding, I'm good with that, because I'm good with
Okay.
all other ones, so I don't know.
So if that all works. I tried to figure out when they met and all of that, and
And
So that's-
probably,
yeah.
I need to tell them.
Yes, and we need to notify all of them as to
Who?
who's on there. Seth Watkins is the Golden Hills representative, so we don't really have a board member on Golden Hills.
They changed the rules and went away from.
Right, and Hungry Canyons is Jacob, and Los Hills is an annual meeting, and that can be Jacob, so, yeah.
I'm actually on their board, so whatever.
Los Hills,
Yes, they're final.
okay,
Director.
But you hear you going. However.
I'll give you the thing, Melissa. Here's a,
So yellow is me and then.
is Zion, do I have Todd on Zion? Okay,
Yes.
Okay.
Alternative is-
yeah, okay. So if that meets everybody's,
thank you for doing that.
well, I tried. So anyway, you can sign this and then Melissa can retype it and redo it. And
So you want to put this on the agenda, action on it next week?
It's on there.
It's, all-
I'll just look this up.
it just says reopen discussion. Okay, it needs to be action, so we need to do it next week, Jacob. Because it's not for action this week.
Okay.
Okay,
Well, we know
All right.
everybody is, so that, then we'll sign it.
okay.
So she needs this paper, you got this paper, for her?
I gave that to her. Did I give that one to
You
you?
need the resolution also?
This.
Yeah, this,
I gave her the resolution.
Yeah.
that'll do it.
Yeah,
You're good.
okay.
All right, so then we'll. Okay, well, that solves that, good.
Okay.
We can just sign it next week. So let everybody know that. I mean, we'll vote on next week, sign up, everybody can send out an email, that says, hey. Yes, we're good with that.
I'm glad to have this piece of it.
Yeah, all right. So that's got that.
Hopefully it's all right, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, mine's easy, because I've already been doing all of them at once, so I can just keep doing that and go to the next one. All right.
All right,
Board communication, I had a thing for Richard, he sent me, and I'm gonna sign it, the opioid.
I got that. Why did you get that too? I got,
Yeah, and so, I mean, I want you guys to be good with it. I'm gonna sign this deal, I mean, you understand what it is, like,
because it came
it's
to.
part of our opioid settlement, you need
Yeah.
to sign this, to go on forward with it. I just wanted to make sure we thought, I don't know, he sent it out to everybody or who he all sent it to, but as part of the opioid settlement, I'm gonna work with him on that.
Yeah, I looked at it, so,
I got it,
yeah,
and I didn't know whether y'all got it too.
yeah, we all got it.
Okay.
I sent it to all of us.
No, I didn't get anything from him.
From Richard?
No,
I bet you got it from the opioid.
I got thing from the opioid and I sent it to Richard because it
Oh,
came to
Maybe
Chuck.
that's how we got things.
Maybe,
It came
yeah,
to
maybe.
Chuck
it's-
to
Maybe
sign.
that's how it went circle.
Yeah, it came to Chuck to sign and I said, is this what you're looking for? Because he
That's-
sent out something about it.
I looked at it, thought it was fine, he thinks it's fine, I'm gonna
Okay.
sign that, so I want to make
Okay.
sure everybody knew
Okay,
about that.
All right.
Okay. Okay, tomorrow, I talked to Chris Clark a couple times, this deal I sent out, this thing he sent me about the Johnson Run, did you see that?
Yeah.
yes,
I told him, I said, to get a special addendum, we have to have phone numbers on, so I'm gonna call in tomorrow. They're just presenting, it's just discussed over there, they're not taking action, estimates. Presenting carbon, whoever's gonna dig with carbon pipeline in Johnson Run, is what I understood him saying, is gonna talk to him about it tomorrow.
Summit, yeah.
Yeah, and I said, well, one of us can call in and listen, and then I would like them to come talk to us too, I guess, they can tell us what they're doing, and we need to set up a time. Whenever action needs to happen, then we do have to be together,
Right.
both boards. So what are we good with? Do you want one of us to call in, so we wanna call in and listen tomorrow, or just tell Summit, come talk to us in our board meeting too, tell us the same story, then we can, whenever we need to take
It
action.
wouldn't be a bad idea to have them come talk to us,
Well, yeah, they need,
so that all of us hear the same thing and.
Right.
on the phone's kind of difficult sometimes
Yeah.
too, so do we just wait for them to reach out to us, or how do you want, I mean, I don't need to seek them out, do I? I told Chris to tell them, or whatever over there, say,
I would think.
welcome
want
to talk to Page County.
Talk to, yeah,
Yeah,
So what do you want to do with that? Just leave it alone right now and wait on them?
I would tell them to come,
I didn't
they'll
make sure
ask,
we
I
all
would
know
think
what's
they'd
going on.
ask to be on the agenda at
Yeah, they got,
some point.
because they were kind of saying, well, we could join up with them on the telephone and it's gonna be very hard to make that happen and really make it very good. So, well, then we'll wait on them, I guess. Okay. That's all I have, communication. I don't know.
and I already talked about being at Farm Bureau, so we talked about budget.
I did, talk to, the Jackson Equipment Group training for the, road grader training, operator training, and it's about, $170 per operator, $170 per operator to train. They come here, he's going to send me some more information on it. That would be about $1,700 for 10 operators, obviously, and, it's usually a couple of days. They go through a lot of different aspects of it. There's different levels of training. So depending on where we feel like our operators are at. But, when I get all the information, I'll bring it and you guys can look at it, but I think it would be a really good thing if we can, find the money to be able to do that, because I think it's an investment that will pay off in the long run. And what makes it different is that they come and they do our roads, they work on our roads, using our equipment. And, so, but like I said, I'll bring more information. I just talked to him yesterday. He was out, of the state. They're out in Nebraska, so. But they have a calendar, and usually you have to schedule in advance. They'll put you on the calendar, so right now it looks like it's pretty open. They got a couple next month, but
They're out of Nebraska.
yeah, I believe they're out in Nebraska, so.
I thought they were Iowa.
No, I think
Okay.
it comes from Nebraska. They have a website too that you can go to, and they have a lot of information on there as well, so.
What's the name of that again? Say it, I'll write it down.
The website is BJHE training. equipment training. And you'll be under Jackson, so you can look at that, that's, Google it, and it pulls up the website.
.com.
Yeah, it was .com, sorry. Anyway, it sounds promising.
Yeah. We can take a look.
I think whatever we can do to invest in our grader operators and help them do their job better, and probably worth it, but.
Right. Do we have any claims? Do we have claims today?
No claims.
No claims today. Okay.
Okay, no claims. Minutes, we can do that. For the minutes, last week we tabled them. On the minutes, I went ahead and on one set of minutes. I want to, like, just like our meeting times, I know I'll be done with it, move on. Like in the last week's minutes, it was saying things about, I feel I want this or I want that. I studied Robert's rules pretty hard the last few weeks, and then also our supervisor manual and other things, and how I want the minutes to be written according to Robert's rules. With just, the way that spells out, not my rules, Robert's rules. So I kind of took one meeting's minutes here, 30th meeting, and just broke it down based on that. I have there, you may want to take one here, just hand one out. This is just an example. Hand one up and lift it, good. So my idea would be, and then just, I gave out a week or two ago, all Saratoga County's minutes, which are written exactly like that. Robert's rules lines it out, the supervisor manual lines it out. I would like to see that because I believe it just takes all impartial viewing of the meeting out, like a third party view of the meeting. It makes it just, an impartial permanent record. Not one person's view of which quotes they like, or think were relevant. So that's my view, and I'd like to get that going. If anybody else wants to do that?
I want to say something.
Yeah.
And I'm probably gonna make people mad, but after being here for 4 minutes, 4 meetings, I really need to say something. And I don't mean any disrespect to anyone as I make these comments, because communication and respect among all of us is the most important thing in moving forward. First of all, Jacob, when you were elected to the board, you came in and had a pretty rough go. And it seemed like every board meeting was a fight, and that isn't the way that the board is supposed to act. We're professionals, elected and appointed to work for the best interests of the people of Page County. We're here to serve, to listen, and to treat others with respect. I believe I was appointed because of my 30 years of experience in county government, and those who kept calling me to send in an application felt that I could be of assistance to both Jacob and Todd, since you're both fairly new. And from all the comments I've received from the people of Page County, people want to change, and most people knew that I had continued to watch what was going on with the county. They want the board to deal with the important issues that are facing the county, and there are many. Not just 1 or 2 issues. We're not here to micromanage other elected officials or department heads. They deserve our respect just as we should work to deserve theirs. When we think changes need to be made, we need to speak to the respective departments and department heads and officials with respect and professionalism, and we need to consider their wants and needs and to see if changes truly need to be made. We should never forget that each elected official runs their own office as they see fit. Each is elected just as the board is, and the supervisors have no voice in how they run their own office, other than budgets. The chosen department heads are a bit different, but some have boards governing them, and we should respect that. For those department heads governed by the board, it is not our job to micromanage or threaten them to do what we want. We don't know everything about their department or offices, although I believe I have a better understanding of each after having been here for so long. We discussed the minutes briefly on January 31st. The person who presented the overview of the auditor's office at ISAC, Jacob, that you referred to has only been there for 3.5 years. And from what I understand, he keeps 2 sets of minutes. One for publication and one for the more detail for the discussion that took place. This is like keeping 2 sets of accounting books, which you don't do.
Yeah, no.
You don't do because it's like you're hiding something. And when audits are done, the state auditors or whoever looks at the minutes, looks at the minutes that are published and not at the second set of minutes that are kept. I will say that the detailed minutes have kept us from several lawsuits. I want to again remind you of that. And I understand you're thinking about saving money on publications, but that isn't the point. When you first came in, you wanted everything in the minutes, and now you don't want much of anything in there.
Well, I don't want it partial.
But and I don't see that they are partial, but anyway, the people have a right to know what goes on in the meetings. It's a transparency that we need to continue. I know we have our Zoom meetings, but as evidenced by 2 KMA articles in the last week, they published something about wages they thought they heard on Zoom that was not correct. They also took a comment you made about insurance and blew it totally out of proportion. That we were not considering changing health insurance, and this upset 100 employees that we have. And so, you know, we need to have the official written documents in place. Yes, publishing the minutes in the newspaper is costly, but it's a duty we have to the citizens of Page County. The auditor has a job to do, and that job includes the board agenda and the minutes. The agenda and the minutes are not the job of the board. The auditor needs to be doing this. And for instance, we don't have things on the agenda today that should have been on the agenda today. We can't communicate with each other, but we can communicate with the auditor. So the auditor needs to be doing the agenda, as is her job. The last few weeks have been too hard to know what's going on, what time we're meeting, etc. I didn't know yesterday till, you know, what was going on until we get the agenda. We can all communicate with the auditor, but we're not supposed to communicate with each other. So this needs to go back to the auditor to do the agenda and the minutes. And I would also request at this time, along with others who have talked to me, that we can continue working on our meetings, and we, you know, do maybe 3 Tuesday mornings and a night meeting or whatever, but this changing every week is very confusing to everyone. 9:30, 6, 3:30, we don't know. But anyone can zoom into the meeting during the day if they can't come to the courthouse, if they know when it is. I would like to bring Page County back to a respected county and not a county known only for arguments in each board meeting. And I hope we can move on with the very important business of the county. But I want everybody, you can respond, but I just feel like we need to go back to where we were.
Well, I tell you, the minutes, I don't think there should be a minute. Robert's rules written very clearly, not Jacob's rules, because you don't want minutes of the permanent record that are a one person's view of a car wreck. They're supposed to be only the absolute, this is the most one. Here's the Board of Supervisors manual. The board shall keep minutes of all its meetings showing the date, time, and place. The members present and the actions taken at each meeting. The minutes shall show the results of each vote taken, and the vote of each member present shall be made public at open session. The minutes shall be public records, open to public inspection. Okay, when you put, there should never be minutes, and this, I didn't really realize this for the last couple of years, because I didn't really look into Robert's rules very deeply. And there was lots of times in the minutes, there was quotes from the public, and you can study this. I've got pages and pages. This is something we got for the boys and teaching them Robert's rules. This is what it says, your basic breaking down Robert's rules. Here's what it says in red. The secretary keeps an official legal record of meetings called the minutes. This record should reflect what members did during the meeting, not what they said. Because discussion goes all over the place. Public people say all kinds of things. We have a video, thank goodness, and transparency. We have uploaded, my wife uploaded the meetings, created a YouTube channel to upload the entire meeting. Now Zoom, you can pick and choose things. If you watch the meeting yourself, if KMA picks a quote out and runs wild with it, just like in the minutes, if you write one quote of something that was important to whoever's writing the minutes, you could read that one quote and think, oh, and have it draw an opinion about a meeting that's not even right. More information, if it's not all information, isn't more accurate. It's half the story. And it may be even innocently half the story. You can't put it all. That's why minutes have to be the movements of the board. And if you just Google keeping minutes, it warns over and over about giving discussion, because you can't give all of it, and it can paint a skewed view, which legally could help you or actually hurt you, because people could draw a conclusion that wasn't even the actual, especially if it wasn't even a vote. You've got discussion going all over the place. So I just want to do it according to Robert's rules. And anything extra, and the supervisor manual. Now it talks about closed session, keeping more detailed minutes. The minutes should be a neutral. There should not be minutes. When I sit on all these other boards, we look for typos, we look for maybe a misrepresentation of a vote, maybe they messed up, how they didn't do second. That's all we do. It takes seconds to do. If it's an editorial, then somebody likes the story, somebody doesn't. And that's not what it should be. The story is the same. You should be able to read the impartial story. It should make minute taking way easier. And we have a video so people can write. And I put on this minutes.
One thing we need to remember with the video is it's not the official record.
Yeah, and over and over and over, it says, because it's official, you have to do it right. You can't add so-and-so
But
from the
the-
public
but
says,
the-
hold on.
the
Can I just say
video is
one
not
thing?
the official.
And just, so we've talked about minutes.
It is, we put the-
It has been a source of aggravation between the auditor and the board. And the bad thing about it is, just like when you send an email, so you send an email to somebody, they read into it because it's an email that was, so whatever they're thinking at that moment, they're thinking, okay, so-and-so feels this way, or so-and-so feels that way, because they're reading into the email. Doesn't ever, trump the actual being there and communicating face to face. But I feel like the minutes have been, a sore subject, and it drives emotion. And we need to get to where we take the dialogue or the added conversations out of it, and just, I went through and I was trying to study, and understand what the rules are, because I think it's important that we follow the rules of what's in the ISAC thing, what's in and I know, we've written minutes for, probably even when Judy was here. This is the way it's always been, maybe. Doesn't always mean it's the right thing to do. And I'm not trying to micromanage anybody, but I'm also trying to say we cannot spend our wheels and spend the taxpayers' wheels arguing about minutes
Right.
every meeting.
Exactly.
There should never be an
if-
argument.
Right, if it's just the clear cut vote, yes, no, this is who was here, I think that takes that out. So we don't have the arguments, so we don't have the discussions. And what I'm trying to do is just say, take out these emotions, take out because when Jacob reads minutes, he might think something else. When I read the minutes, I look at it differently. When Judy reads the minutes, she looks at it differently. When the citizen reads the minutes, they look at it differently. So take all that out where we just look at, here's A happened and this is the result. B happened, this is the result. Which is what the guidelines suggest that we should do. And I'm not trying to micromanage.
They said it also is up to the board of supervisors how detailed they have those minutes. I know he keeps referencing to Robert Walker.
Right.
But talking to Ashley, she said it kind of at the discretion. And that's-
Well, then it goes up, so just to your point right there, then it's up to the board's discretion.
Not the auditor.
So the board could decide, hey, this is how we want our meetings to be.
Make sure that with some of these things, like with the public health budget, if we get audited, then we don't have any proof as to why different salary amounts happened. So you do want to be cautious on some of these, because if you don't have proof, then if Richard's paying 20% and nothing's documented, and they come in, what is our, like if you change.
Did we change his budget? Did we add money to it or take away? There's a change and there's dollars on a motion and add that in there. But discussion, I've been in a lot of board meetings, there's all kinds of discussion, and the discussion people make is not how they voted, which is really confusing. People put their discussion and they vote differently, doesn't even match the vote. So I think we should be able to look at a set of minutes, and if there's a number that needs to be in there, put the number in there. It's fine, if it's the budget's this many dollars, and we voted to make it that many dollars, put the number, that's fine. But when you have all kinds of other input, and you pick one side of one, in the minutes we have on the last 3 weeks, there's all kinds of arguments I made against a point that aren't there, and one side is. So when you sit and read it, it's not even a complete thing, and I think that's why you leave that stuff out, because you can't put all that. But we do have a video, and we ain't trying to hide anything. I want everybody to watch every minute of the discussion, and they can make up their own mind and give us ideas based on that, so. But minutes are not supposed to be political, they're not supposed to be anything other than just the official record. Well, I don't think, even innocently,
Yeah,
I
and
hate
see,
people.
listen, this is the other issue, I think. Nobody in here is doing anything intended.
No.
But the problem is that it becomes,
Even trying to do your best, you can't hardly do it all, you can't put it all, in. It's impossible.
and to try to eliminate that so that there's no feeling of distrust or bias.
Or having to come in and say,
Then
well, yeah, this quote, let's add that quote. Well, I want to add this quote. And we ended up with things that gets longer and longer,
Right.
trying to make it tell the story. Just put it. Like, I mean, all the other boards I'm on, their minutes are very, this is just, take this, make sure all the numbers are there that need to be there, but just actions, movements. Everything I said, everything I've read says you don't put names of people from the crowd and things, from the audience. I've read that over and over and over again in the minute stuff. And study it. Show me where it says add everybody's names from everywhere and all the things like that. It can, there's a reason, there's structure for the way we do our motions.
Videos and all of them, who knows how long those videos are gonna be. I mean, in here, but we have the video here in your official document,
Well,
like, I don't know if that's even legal.
well, ask about that. I guess we can ask about that, but we have it available to the newspaper. We can print something in the newspaper to let people know that they can go there. It's on our website, right on the front page, middle of everything, the videos. It's just trying to, because we have things, people give us emails, things that are in a file from meetings that they can go get if they'd like to have them. But this should there should be no drama with minutes. It should be so simple.
And I don't see drama in the minutes. I
Oh,
just
we
see
look at the last,
information.
the minutes about the minutes are a big paragraph of basically trying to explain why we need to keep the minutes with all the quotes accordingly. And then you go up above, where we lower the supervisor's pay, and that's fine. It looks pretty good. Action, vote, done. There wasn't all the discussion why we did that. Why was that not there? It's just, it needs to be done like business according to Robert's rules, and then it takes all of it out. Minutes become a very simple thing, and we have video for people to watch. And make it. In FFA, this is why we did it. This is the whole thing. You look at how you do the minutes, first paragraph, body, last paragraph. It's very simple. Trying to tell a story with this certain people's quotes is half a story. And it could be skewed and it's seen just like a KMR. It could be totally taken wrong and not be the total factual permanent record of what happened.
But that is also what all three of you did to look at.
Right, and so then we have to add more points that were said or take away points or whatever if they weren't quite right. I don't know, I want it done, whatever we're gonna do. I wanna have it where there's a nice,
We need to get it done and over with and move on.
I agree. So I want to do that today. So either continue on or base it on a very simple format of Robert's rules.
You still have to publish all the resolutions.
Yes, definitely, yeah. All resolutions in there and all dollars and everything that has to be there according to law, yes, definitely. Just make it a non-political, even innocently political bias, whatever, just make it business. Like all other minutes I'm involved with. So we have to, I'm for that, so I want that way. If nobody else does, that's fine, but that's where I'm at with it.
Yeah, like, again, I just resort back to the rules and what it says. And that is what our guidelines state. And so, you know,
We can
being
make,
new to all this process, and I'm not trying to micromanage your job or anybody else's. So that's not the point
I guess
of
I'm
this, but,
curious, what rules you keep referring to.
the ISAC.
ISAC manual.
What's in the.
ISAC doesn't have rules.
Well, they have the guidelines. I mean, that's what
Right.
we're supposed to
Yeah.
conduct our meetings by, correct? I mean, that's what it's there for.
it's our manual to
To,
guide us.
if you have questions about how to do something or, so that's the only thing I'm going by.
And if you look at 99 counties, you're gonna see 99.
Oh, I'm
different
sure you
ways of
will.
looking at it.
And I'm sure that was all decided by the boards and they
Minutes.
decided how they wanted to do
Yeah.
it. And again, I just think you take out the issue of us having discussions or biases or even, oh, hey, I think I said this last week and I want it in the minutes. Well, maybe you didn't say it. And those kind of arguments, I just think you take that out and you say, okay, it's clear cut. This was the resolution. This is what the vote was. Now, what I would also like to add is if there was something that we said that we want to make sure it's in the minutes, maybe you'd say, hey, I want to make sure this is documented that I'm saying this. I don't see a problem with that either. If we want to make sure that, you know, if Jacob has something that he wants to make sure that's in there, then, I mean,
Well, motion's way to do that.
Right.
Cause it gets it in the minutes for sure, make a
Right.
motion when something
When
happens.
anybody comes to present, you don't want any.
If people are gonna report, what it says is, if people bring a report, you name, I mean.
yeah, so if they're gonna present
Say the
something, so
name
let's
and-
say somebody's coming to present from council.
Greg Wild came
And he brought a report, then you
You're
could,
just supposed to say.
So you-
front.
and gave the
Yep.
jail, yeah,
yep,
it's on here, that's the way, and that's not weird.
When you
What's
look,
weird
when you
is-
look at the minutes for the last 50, 60 years, nobody's had an issue before,
Well, there has been
So,
several things.
just in the
where-
last 2 years.
Well, there's been several things where whoever writes the minutes paints the picture of the board meeting. And it's not the picture of the vote, it's the picture of,
And
One
that's,
person.
that's your take on it, Jacob.
that's my take on
That's
it.
your
And I
take.
should,
So
I
again-
shouldn't have a weird thing.
Again, it's just
Again, it's-
perception.
right, and
Yeah.
so how do we get rid of the
Perception.
perception?
Yeah.
Let's just keep it, you know, that's the point, is let's get, so we don't argue about it, we just,
Right.
hey, this is what the vote was.
You can put my comments in for today. Because
So my suggestion is, we have all these minutes from the last 3 meetings that have been written, there are pages and pages of
I mean,
things.
I don't know, I would think that you would be happy, because you won't have to type as much, but.
And that's confusing, because then you say, well, we don't want anything, but yet, then make sure you add this.
Yeah.
No, it needs to be done,
Okay, well,
by the way, just,
okay, we'll strike that. then.
Sorry. If you,
I don't want to confuse anymore.
It's
Strike-
gonna be
strike
very,
that.
it's gonna be very confusing what to put in and what not to put in.
Well,
because
actually,
you
it's
want
very
the
simple.
official
Just-
actions.
If we just do official action. we'll
just
should-
look
Yeah.
up Robert's rules for minutes and presenters. If somebody comes and presents, it tells you how to put their thing. They gave a study on the jail, he
So
emailed it to us.
basically, you just want the agenda as your minutes, pretty much.
Kind of
No,
what it
'cause
looks
we'll
like.
have
No,
resolutions,
you have
we'll have
resolutions, you have votes,
how we
and second.
voted. the specific, and I've looked back at this, and I'm not good at this either, but the specific wording and motions is not always in the minutes very well all the time. So that needs to be in there. That's a big deal. So the specific, sometimes the specific wordings of motions, that isn't the actual wording of the motion that we vote on, is very important. So if there's things like that, that matters. The wording of the motion, if it fails, I went through this with kids in our little training on Robert's Rules of Minutes. All of it. You have to be specific about that, but you know that. Whenever there's a motion on the table, that wording really matters, what the motion is in the vote. And then on to the next thing. Do they not have, I mean, I've got pages and pages of Robert's rules here, how you build things.
What motions
Oh.
you feel that haven't been
All,
directly?
no, I'm saying sometimes the wording of that is, I've not thought maybe as, we're kind of sloppy with it myself. I don't do a very good job of even giving you the wording, we're kind of moving along. I'm just saying that does matter. So that's different than our agenda. An actual motion is made, whatever the wording is. You put that in the minutes and then the vote, if it fails or passes, then we go again. These are things that are true items that happen and then the vote, and then if it passes or fails, adopted or not. If there's points, order, or appeals, which we don't really have those, that's supposed to be in there. The hour of adjournment, signature of the chair, I mean, these are just your way you set minutes up. I've looked at this. I didn't find anywhere any different. They all say the same thing. They all have the same template. So, and it takes all even innocent chance of bias or incorrect, view of a meeting out.
You keep saying bias, and I have not seen any bias in the minutes.
If
Jacob.
you like, I'm saying innocently, you can't, if I was taking the minutes, I couldn't do it right either. I can't write everything you say and everything I say in discussion and to say it perfectly, so somebody reads it and understands it. Can't do that. I couldn't do that. I'm just saying it innocently, it is not complete. I have to say that right. So I believe this takes it out of it. If that's what we want to do, do it. If we don't, but I just want to end it, but I would like this done where it's business-like, just done. No chance of that. Anybody can come out, that'd be easy, very easy. To not have any, and going over them easy.
So no supporting documentation whatsoever.
What do you mean support?
Of
Yes,
discussion.
everything that's given to us and all that is on file. We have a video of every word of every speaker and what they say. It's on YouTube, it's on our county website. Do we have that saved somewhere for you? Do we save it to? On YouTube, if you have it anymore, or is it gone? It's on YouTube. Okay, third party site. We could also maybe have that saved somewhere to a jump drive or something if we wanted.
Oh, that'd be,
We could save
jump
it,
drive,
whatever you call it, I don't know, some kind of a memory.
Flash drive, memory stick.
that'd be a little huge, I think.
I don't know things about memory
May
stuff, but
not hold all of it.
I don't think it would go then. No. I
So we could
think so.
double back it up, and I
Yeah.
really like that, so we have a full, complete video of it, so. Cause I want everybody to see it all, anyway, so that's,
It's not official.
which is why half of a fifth,
Not.
that's right, that's fine.
Nobody would disagree with that as official, right?
There until when?
I mean, that's okay though, isn't it?
Well,
It's not,
and you need to be cautious though, because your official minutes are.
right,
Yeah, which is why if we put,
You look litigation.
yeah,
That's
and
a different thing. The official minutes are what.
they go-
somebody reads our minutes and
So,
so half a
if
conversation.
nothing's in there, then, I mean, litigation, it's not going to affect litigation, because it's just the votes of what we did, which I would stand by our votes.
Yeah,
Well, it depends on, I mean, I guess the situation, I mean, in some lawsuits, I mean. We can, that's what there's some lawsuits that some can choose self defend in court when you go to litigation.
I would think they
Well-
could just sue you on the minutes of your actions and not,
yeah, I tell you, there's a reason for Robert's rules. I'll make the motion to make the minutes free of anything, the extra stuff that is, could go either way. I want to be according to Robert's rules.
Do you want that retrospective, or do you?
I want it back to, the last 3 minutes that aren't approved yet. So go back and there's a little example one, if there needs to be a number added, go ahead and add it. If I missed a number there or something, that's just an example. That look like that of our actions and any numbers and legal things that need to be there, put them there. It's just I went through it kind of how I saw it. I'd like to make a motion to do that and move on with just standard Robert's Rules minutes.
I'll second.
Taking our discussion, we've had a bunch of discussion. Any other discussion on that?
I disagree.
Okay. All those in favor? Aye.
You don't have that on the agenda though, to change the minutes today. You have now to change. the
Well, then we'll-
31st.
Okay, then we'll table it, I guess.
So. I mean,
Well, I want to go through it.
Take action, but you don't have it down, take action.
What do the minutes have? Do we have to vote on the minutes? How we keep the minutes? Do we have to vote that or is that an instruction of the board?
How
It's
about,
not a resolution.
Oh, yeah, it's not a resolution.
how about approving the 30th, the 31st and the 7th and starting with the next one?
No, I had tons, there's tons of it. So I'm not for that. I want them redone like, to fit kind of this scale. So how about this? Bring them in here next time, kind of looking somewhere in this form of, I mean, just your basic Robert's Rules for minutes. And, whatever needs to be in there legally. Bring those forward and we'll look at it next week and we can pass them on. That sound good?
Sure.
Todd, do that. I understand what you're saying and about wanting to help with information, and I like lots of information. But more, that's not all, isn't more accurate. It's actually skewed, even innocently skewed.
What would you like me to put down for this entire conversation? Like,
Really, it isn't, as far as the minutes go, this isn't really, we haven't taken action. So there isn't.
You don't-
Don't know, it's not. Part of, I don't know how to do that, I guess no, because it's not, we haven't made a motion yet. Next week we make a motion on it, I guess that'll be in there.
I want my comments in the minutes,
which-
the comments that I made earlier.
But the minutes, the official record of the board decides it goes in the minutes, so we vote.
So you're not gonna let my comments go in there?
Well, I'm not against your comments being in there, but then we have to add our comments back, so then I have to add my comments to your comments. You see why this is silly? If we do that, it's the actions, now when we vote,
I want people to know where I stand on the minutes and the agenda.
well, you will vote on that.
And how we treat the other elected officials and the communication
Well,
and
I
everything.
wonder if it's
So-
great, so So if we vote on the times, that'll be in there, yes or no, we'll say what we did on the times, if we vote on we'll have motions, if we vote on the minutes, that'll be in there, yes or no. It takes, because if you make a two-page statement, and I want to make a two-page statement, then what are we gonna do with the minutes, it's editorial. So the vote does make a statement very clearly, and that's why Robert's rules are there, it takes all he said, she said out of it, just bang, here it is.
And if people want to know why you voted a certain way,
Watch the
they'll
video.
call and ask it. And then you can tell them.
So there we go, so I guess next week we'll look at that. But this needs to be done and make it business-like and move on.
I want the auditor to be doing the agenda.
I would like that too. I don't like doing the
I
agenda.
want
The
the
only
auditor.
reason I got kind of tossed the agenda. I don't want to do the agenda.
I want the auditor to be doing the agenda. because
Now,
it's
on the
just too
agenda,
confusing.
and we can put that on, or we need to put that on, I don't know. I would be tickled not to be doing the agenda. The thing with the agenda is we've got to, establish when it needs to be turned in, because that was a problem. And also some wording on the agenda, and taking the times off, things like that were an issue. So,
Why did we take the times off?
well, because time changes, discussion changes, and I spent a lot of time in board meetings waiting on the clock. We would sit here and wait, or we'd be behind. So most all other boards one don't have times on them, because it constrains the board. If there has to be an appointment, maybe that's fine, or put them at the beginning, but times can be we spent lots of time waiting on times.
Wait,
So,
yeah, so a lot of times
I
we're
understand
waiting
that.
for people to show up because
So
I
they're,
understand that.
If there's a special appointment,
Right.
fine, but just people who come,
I got
like,
that.
hear that, so it's just kind of trying to reorganize and make it hammer out what we're gonna do.
So can we go back to the auditor doing the agenda?
Yes, I'd be
Okay.
fine, now I had an idea on that,
I think at this point, it would just be best for Jacob, that he has his way of he wants things done, and I think.
I don't think,
I
no,
don't think that's.
no.
the right way to do it.
and
no.
when I got tossed it to me, I was just trying to make just an out.
As long as we're not calling the auditor's office 20 times, why, that's fine. I just think we need to have the auditor's office do the agenda, period.
Yeah,
Sorry, Melissa, but I think that needs to be done because we can communicate with you
yeah,
where we can't communicate with each
it's
other.
way better for her to do
And
this.
then past the next, like you said, I got too many phone calls on.
Right.
topics that-
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're not gonna criticize that part of it. It's gonna be
We try to do our best job, but we are also busy with.
everything else. Yes,
business.
you have your own stuff to do, but
Right.
the agenda we need you to do.
The only issues on the agenda back when I was looking at this a month ago was just maybe add the boards, or add what we're appointing, just what we're appointing. I didn't have big issues with the whole thing, and change the word from approval to action, just because.
And I don't know what that big
Because
a
I've
deal
been
is
called on
either.
that, and I thought, it just looks like we're gonna approve it. How do we know we're gonna approve it? We don't know. It's just a simple
It's
word.
just the same thing. I mean, it's approval action, it's the same thing.
Right, it's not that big a deal, but that's been an issue that's been said to me over and over. Have you already talked? Are you gonna approve it? I'm like, no, we haven't talked. It's just a word.
I feel like the whole thing hinders
better
us
word.
because like today, we could have done some action.
Right,
Yeah,
we
But it
didn't
wasn't
have the
on
word-
there.
We didn't have the wording.
The
right, so
wording
then
wasn't
it-
there.
there should always be the word action, and I screwed up there not to put action on. it.
yeah, because I had told you on the one that we needed to do
Should
that.
have put
So,
action.
yes,
And there's
yes.
things happen, make an agenda, and it's not good.
Yes.
You make a mistake.
So let's go back over this. We're doing a Zoom meeting tomorrow at 3:00.
Yep,
Just to approve a resolution. Maybe we just need to put this on next week's next week. I'll call her, tell her it's coming. And that we'll do it next week instead of doing it tomorrow.
that's fine. I don't care either way.
That's fine with me too,
Okay.
if that's what, yeah, that's-
Let's do that. I'll call her.
okay, thank you.
So we don't have to do that tomorrow. So on next week's agenda, we want, the WIOA resolution.
Yep.
We want,
I think it would, like, just with knowing that there's been a bunch of communication already, maybe we should set like March first is when the auditor takes back over the agenda, because there's been so much communication already that we have not. Like, we have asked to Jacob at this point and not kept, that I just worry in the next 2 weeks, something's gonna get missed.
Well, whatever's fine. I could send up whatever mock the template I got, look it over too and see whatever, template, whatever.
well, let's go over. First of all, we're doing the boiler action next Tuesday.
Yeah,
We're doing this WIOA resolution. We're going to approve the use of the courthouse for the Spirit on the Square. we're going to approve the board assignments.
We're probably gonna, yeah, we are gonna. it's like-
We're going to, we're going to, repeal the 11, the resolution 11. And do a new one for the appointments. And we're going to do a Surha appointment. What else is there? I guess that's,
And we're gonna review Dale's.
Dale,
And
yes.
the prices.
Yes.
And the,
And I guess you need to have
Cost.
the minutes on there, put the minutes on there, because we have to vote on it, if we have to vote on that, put it on there. Well, we have to approve the minutes, so. Hold on,
okay, so the jail is next week also. And then the agenda times,
time, and minute format.
and we need to keep in mind that Todd has an evening meeting one time a month.
Yeah.
On a Tuesday. So the minutes and the. Okay. I guess that's it.
Okay.
Is that it? Have you got all of those?
I got it all scribbled down on here, and did you take notes up there too, or did you get notes of that? Make sure
I'll try to send them out.
I've got them all scribbled on here. We can kind of mock this up and send it out and make sure we got everything on there. Okay, well then, I mean, so we need to kind of give action here on the minutes. I would like those minutes that we got, I did one of them myself, and it might need a little working on, but it's the template. I'd like, Doc agrees, just go over those minutes, make it put that kind of template, basic template, and, make sure everything's in there, it has to be in there.
We need to take a vote on that because we've got a motion on the floor, actually.
Well, can we didn't know if we could make a vote, because we didn't have it on the agenda. That's the question, that's why, but they have to know how to make the minutes for next week. So. We can give verbal guidance, I guess.
I'm not sure about if that's, because if it's not like a resolution.
It's not a resolution.
That would be.
Right,
We have to get our consensus. Do we have consensus to fix the minutes? I mean, to make them according to Robert's rules, and this, like the,
you can do it because I vote no.
yeah, I go yes.
Yeah.
All right, so fix those minutes and bring them back to us, we'll look at them and move on. And we'll have it on the agenda if we need to next week, so. Do that. Anything else? Whew, then I guess we need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Will they second that, ready to go home?
I'll second it.
All those in favor? Aye.
Your stomach's telling you're hungry.
Yeah.
Mhm.